Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot extraordinaire, and your local witch next door, and today I'm talking about the King of Pentacles. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. For monthly hangouts, tarot Q&As, and more, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, you can join my next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. It's on Monday, May 12th from 4:45 to 7 p.m. at the Sumner Library for a potluck and crafting your own tarot cards. I'll bring all the supplies for crafting and we'll talk tarot and do that together. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, and more. And if you don't already know, I am a sex and relationships therapist, seeing clients virtually all over Washington state. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients who might be struggling with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex. You can go ahead and book a free 20-minute consultation with me now to make sure we're a good fit to work together. And you can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website at CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. So we are on the final episode of Season 7, where I'm talking all about the Suit of Pentacles in this season. If you haven't listened to the other seasons yet, you can check those out. In Season 1, I talked to tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and the 4 suits as an overview. In Season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture. In Season 5, I went through 13 common spreads. And in Season 6, we went through the whole suit of wands. So like I said, we're in Season 7, and today I'm talking about the King of Pentacles. So we're at the last card of Pentacles. If you want to hear an episode dedicated to an overview of the whole suit of Pentacles, you can check out Season 3, Episode 13, or that would be Episode 39 if you're going in that kind of order. And so for the King of Pentacles, some images or symbols associated with this card are discipline, dominance, powerful, provider, stability, control, and wisdom. I'm looking at 3 of my decks here. So I have the Anima Mundi deck by Megan Weirer-Lendon, the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu, and the Ophidia Rosa tarot deck by Leela and Olive. In the Anima Mundi deck, what's depicted on the King of Pentacles card is a grizzly bear. They're standing on top of a mountain, like looking very powerful and sort of dominating the card and the atmosphere. If we think of Pentacles as an earth sign, right, grizzly bears are one of the top of the hierarchy when it comes to land animals in a lot of ways. You can see the hump on the bear's back, and we see that they're in this forest and sort of with all the starry sky behind them, and in this very sort of like king of the hill stance. They're at the top, they're kind of perched there, they're looking at us directly straight on. In the Ophidia Rosa tarot deck by Leela and Olive, the Pentacles, or the King of Pentacles, is sort of depicted here as like a stem with some different flowers on it. And then there's these 2 sort of like curving stems or leafy parts on either side, almost making like an oval or a circle, like containing the inner flowers. And for this deck, there's a short like phrase or sort of like poem for each card. And for the King of Pentacles, it says, "Let the crown and gold thorns melt away in a pyre. Now the stem is our torch and the petals aspire." And then in the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabrielle Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu, what's depicted here is like a statue, definitely like a very like curvy, voluptuous person is depicted. Their boobs are out in full display. I don't even think that there's like a head on this character, but you just see sort of like all these curves and everything. So, and in this deck, a lot of the sort of traditionally masculine coded characters or archetypes are changed. And so this is considered the Crone of Pentacles. So we have, instead of page, knight, queen, king, we have maiden, witch, queen, and then crone. And if you think of sort of like the maiden mother crone phrasing, where it's sort of this like journey of like womanhood often, that's depicted here, that the crone is sort of like you're in that wise part of your life. It says, the Crone of Pentacles, a living ancestress with the experience and wisdom that allows her to ground through mind and body to make whatever decisions need to be made. She's the teacher, the guide, the mentor, the high priestess, or the circle keeper who leads you into the secrets of the witch. And the circle keeper is kind of interesting because on the Leela and Olive tarot card for this one, there's also this sort of like circular aspect. We do see in the Goddess of Love card that there is this like, it almost looks like a church behind it. So there's like this figure where the body is fully like present, and again, like I said, there's no head on it, I don't think so. It's like focusing on the body. We see these pink like opening, blossoming flowers, and we see some where the buds are there, and we see emeralds and the pentagram, which is depicted here as a heptagram, so seven-sided, and then it's almost like in this cathedral, which to me sort of reckons back to the priestess or even the Hierophant. It says this card, she reflects the wisdom of the wild buried within flesh, bone, and body. It's time to release outdated structures and logical thinking and step into her sensual waters. Claim the identity of the wise woman for yourself. She knows the language of the earth and its plants and spirits, the power of the body, and the wisdom that comes from intuition. And I like the affirmation for this one that's in this guidebook that says, I trust my magic, I trust my wild nature, and I trust the wisdom and pleasure of my body. And there's a journal question associated with this card in this deck that says, how is the Crone of Pentacles reflecting my need to root into the magic of my body as well as the magic of nature, which again is sort of like the epitome of Pentacles, right? Being in the body, and then how that connects to being in nature or with nature there. So more broadly, when we think about the King of Pentacles card in the Library of Esoterica, Tarot Book by Toshin, they talk about that the King of Pentacles is about reliability and practicality. The King of Pentacles signifies stability and confidence and emphasizes the value of success gained through principled intellect. So a little more focus there on the mind, but it's also this sort of like thinking through things. If we think of like the archetype of being a provider or stability or providing wisdom, like a lot of that comes from experience, right? When we think of wisdom, we think of having gone through a lot of things, that you have this sort of embodied experience, or like you have this lived, right? We say lived experience instead of just saying that we know it intellectually. It means that you know it from going through it. And there sort of is this like success that's embodied in this card by having moved through things, right? Feeling confident about where things go, and also sort of being not like in control of the body, but being like in tune, I would say, like with the body there. In the Tarot and Astrology book by Karine Kenner, the King of Pentacles is associated with Taurus. It says the stability of fixed earth. Like all the kings in the tarot deck, the King of Pentacles is a seasoned, experienced man. He successfully completed the mission he undertook as the former Knight of Pentacles. He was rewarded with the keys to the kingdom, and he now rules the entire realm, as well as its armies, which defend and conquer in the name of the throne. Elementally, the four kings of the tarot are airy intellectuals. They simply combine the element of air with a corresponding element of their own suit. So for this one, it would be, right, the heady combination of air and earth, for earth being for the Pentacles sign. So the King of Pentacles also represents this fixed earth sign of Taurus, which makes them steady, reliable monarch, stable, grounded, determined, dependable, practical, and realistic. He's honest and hardworking. He can be stubborn and slow moving, but he's also patient and persevering. He's a man of substance, value, and worth. Like his major arcana counterpart, the Hierophant, he values tradition and his surroundings reflect his spiritual beliefs. It says the King of Pentacles manages the affairs of the kingdom with mathematical, business-like precision. He has a flair for ingenious, practical solutions to complicated problems, and it usually takes him a long time to get angry, but once he is roused, he can be fierce. He might be earthy and unrefined, but he's also loyal and honorable. His feet are firmly on the ground, and his body, mind, and soul are devoted to the cause. It says in the natural horoscope, his primary domain is the second house of values and personal belongings. So again, very much in that material realm, right? Like the actual things that we, like the things that are of value to us, and then also the things, like the literal things that we value, right? The things in our home, how we choose to dress, personal mementos, our belongings, all of that is sort of wrapped up in this card here. In the Fearless Tarot book by Elliot Adam, they talk about that the King of Pentacles is about success, talking about the internal and external markers of wealth and bearing. So in the Rider-Waite depiction of the card, Rider-Waite-Smith depiction of the card, there are bulls like on the throne that the King of Pentacles sits on, which are associated with Taurus. That stubborn tenacity and the commitment to reaching goals. The king is surrounded by like a bunch of possessions and in a shining castle that we sort of see in the background. The King of Pentacles is looked upon by others as wealthy, but his wealth stems from knowing that success grows from patience, preparation, and willingness, and not necessarily just from like material goods. It says, are you feeling nervous about your financial future? Is there something you want to achieve, but you don't even know where to begin? Would you say your thoughts about wealth in your life are positive or negative at this time? Let's see. So it says to achieve the success of the King of Pentacles, you need several things. Patience, and let's see, anything. Then you need to prepare for your future. So making goals, writing them down, breaking them down into achievable bits. And then you need to approach what you're doing with love. Infuse your responsibilities and a willing and grateful heart. That will bring much better results than if your tasks are approached with resentment, fear, or worry. This attitude will also guarantee that the grapes you cultivate are sweet grapes and not the grapes of wrath. The King of Pentacles signifies health, wealth, money, stability, success, and joy. It says when the King of Pentacles represents a person, they are financially stable and secure. They have a great mind for business, entrepreneurship, and finance, and they prefer stability and low-risk investments. It says it can also represent a stable family man who always plans for future security. Kings can be mature people of any gender who are leaders or figures of authority. And again, this book does a lot of gendering, I would say, but I do appreciate that some of my decks sort of embody this in a different way or without all of the maybe traditional hangings of masculinity. In the Tarot for Change book by Jessica Dorr, they say, like, often the Pentacles suit gets talked about as being done with career and finance, security, and that they think that this card's really more about broader human values of safety and knowing where we fit in. Let's see here. It says, if the King of Pentacles could speak, I think he'd say that competence comes through working in the domains immediately accessible to us. I think he'd say that sometimes when we feel powerless, it's because we're trying to exert influence over domains we don't have rightful access to, and because we're trying to control how other people think and feel and what they do. He'd say that if you're obsessing about how your neighbor's tomatoes won't grow while neglecting your own seedlings, that doesn't make you incapable. You're just trying to manage something you have no control over. It says learning to mind your own business in this particular way takes dedication, which is why it's the wisdom held by a king. It can take a lot of redirecting, especially if you have some of these habits, to focus more on others' wants and needs than your own. It says, thankfully, this king offers a down-to-earth, practical instruction. Our power lives in our willingness and ability to attend to our own domains, our own energy, feelings, thoughts, behaviors. So if you want to feel capable, work on building the capacity to attend to those things without giving in to the impulse to shut down or look away. So this is also, right, calling us out a little bit, right? That sometimes when we think about when we get caught up in the maybe material possessions of others or the things that we want to have, or stability, that sometimes that can lead to us wanting to control other people or circumstances that we don't actually have any control over, and that there is this call to focus more on ourselves and what our circle of control, what we actually can change, and to focus on maybe how we respond to things, or what happens when we have, right, anxiety or scarcity feelings come up, and instead of reacting from that place and telling others that they need to change their behavior in order to quell our anxiety, that maybe, right, what it's asking us to do is to interrogate our own thoughts there, our own anxieties, and to maybe not operate from this place of fear, but trying to figure out, okay, how do I reassure myself? How do I go to others in relationship or other things and approach it with a strategic mindset, or um, a, a level of stability, or or even discipline for ourselves and the things that we can control, instead of maybe always putting that on other people and then getting disappointed when they don't kind of follow through on our desire to control them. All right, so today I'm going to pull cards from the Citadel, a Fantasy Oracle by Fen Inkwright, to dive in and see what the cards have to say on this topic. All right, and this is a newer deck to me. My cards are going all which way here today. And I'm going to be thinking about, how do we, right, focus on our circle of control? How do we not get caught up in maybe our anxieties or scarcity mindset and try to control other people? But how do we, right, stand in our own confidence and stability and our ability to plan for future and to be our own providers in that way? All right. And I pulled the Founder, and it says it's about foundations and community. So the Founder is part of the Court. So this is an oracle deck, so it doesn't have the traditional tarot structure, but it does sort of have suits. So the Court is, so if the Citadel is sort of the city where everyone lives, the Court is at the heart of the city, encircled by the walls, glittering palaces, golden temples, lush gardens. It's a place of pure opulence and wealth, the pinnacle of aspiration. The people who live here are those who have achieved or are right on the edge of achieving their highest goals, and those who have attained their best and most essential selves. So, the Founder, okay. And I pulled it upright, so I'm just going to read that version of it. A tapestry hangs in the great hall, wide enough to cover the entire wall. It tells the tale of the Citadel's founding, the great battles that were fought, and the first stones that were laid. In the center is depicted the Citadel itself, a bastion of peace nestled in the landscape. Among the figures working on the walls, one humble person stands. This is the Citadel's founder, the warrior who laid down their blade to pick up the hammer instead. To build a community, the foundations must first be laid. What sort of a person must you be to best support those around you? Someone you know may be asking for help, but you may not be able to provide what they need right now. Assess whether you're the right person to assist them, and if not, work out why. What's holding you back from being the best support that you can be? Now is the time to address any unresolved feelings so that when you build the community, you can do it together. So it sounds like this card, right, is telling us sort of the benefits of, instead of maybe blaming other people or trying to control, of like what happens when we work together, right? If we ask for support when we're having a hard time, or even saying, right, I'm getting caught up in my anxieties right now. I'm gonna work on that on myself. And can you meet me kind of like in the middle here? Can we negotiate about this? Or even, right, addressing some of those unresolved feelings or resentment that might be coming up, so that, right, we can better move forward in community together. Because it also, if we're not describing how we actually feel and sort of holding on to that ourselves, again, we can kind of have these unresolved feelings that can go on for a very long time and sort of underlie the foundation, right? If this is about founding a city, right, laying down the blade to pick up the hammer, like you don't want your foundation to not be secure or to be crumbly, or to have you not trust that the other people laying the foundation are going to do their job, right? We have to pick maybe the right people to do that job, to lay the foundation for your literal building or community. And then we have to let them do it, right? We can't necessarily just be checking up on everyone, because then like nothing gets done. And if we just do it all ourselves, we don't actually allow ourselves to have community or be in like a supportive relationship that way. All right, so links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.